This is Caffeine Coils, and I'm Deanna.
And I'm Jenny.
We have a special guest with us today. Do you want to introduce yourself?
Be happy to. So, Shane McKnight, General Manager for Holden and Associates, which is a subsidiary that Mingledorff's purchased back in the late 90s.
All right, so tell us, what exactly does Holden do?
So, Holden, similar to Mingledorff's, is in the air conditioning industry. I like to refer to Holden and Mingledorff's as playing in the same sandbox, but we're in different corners with different toys. So, Holden is a manufacturer's rep, which primarily means that the majority of the products we sell, we are having our manufacturers build and ship directly to contractors, as opposed to Mingledorff's, which sells the majority of their stuff out of the back or out of different stores. So totally different set of manufacturers than Mingledorff's. So we have our own sales force, our own engineering team, and our own support staff separate from the Mingledorff's employees.
Okay, so would you say your business is more residential or commercial or kind of both? Give me a little bit more context to the products that you specifically sell.
Sure. So we are only on the commercial side. We do not deal with anything residential unless it's very, very large. So for instance, residential multifamily buildings we'll deal with. We have done some houses, Tom Glavine, Arthur Blank, big homes that look actually more like commercial jobs than they do residential. But by and large, our bread and butter are school jobs. But we also get involved with the office buildings in our major metro areas. We did Truist Park with the Braves. We did Mercedes-Benz with the Falcons. And so also do the high-profile jobs as well.
Awesome. I actually didn't even know we did Tourist Park, so that's interesting.
We did. Yes, we did. So, gosh, that's been 10 years ago now, I guess.
Oh, wow.
10 years
Yeah.
ago. But yeah, so it's all commercial work.
Okay. So Holden and Associates has been serving the HVAC industry since 1952. Can you share some key milestones in the company's history?
Sure. So it was founded here in Atlanta, so a locally founded and owned for quite a while business. And their original office was down in the Buckhead area, which, funny enough, was a suburb of Atlanta and kind of on the outskirts back in the 50s. But they did start as a manufacturer's rep, and they have repped everything from Westinghouse, which evolved into Trane, they were one of the original Greenheck reps, which is still our largest revenue line today. They slowly moved north, moved up to North Buckhead, moved up to Chamblee, until they were purchased by Mingledorff's in the late 90s, at which time they moved into corporate building here in Peachtree Corners, until just last year, moved out into their own building. We now have offices in Milledgeville, which serves the southwest part of the state, in Savannah, which primarily focuses on Savannah, Valdosta, and Brunswick area, and then in the Statesboro, Augusta area, which serves the Augusta market.
All right, kind of a pop quiz question. Where did the name Holden come from?
So Holden is George Holden.
Okay.
It's a person's name. So George Holden was the founder and owner until he sold to the employees, I believe, in the early 80s. It became an ESOP, an employee stock-owned company, until Mingledorff's bought the company from the employees.
So how did that acquisition come about between Holden and Mingledorff's?
So until the late 90s, Mingledorff's was primarily a residential and light unitary company. They did not play extensively in the commercial market, and so Bud Mingledorff, son of our founder, decided he wanted a company that could sell any product to any contractor, be it residential, commercial, or industrial. And so he went out and bought the applied arm of Carrier here in Georgia. And he wanted access to the Greenheck line, which is kind of the Carrier of air distribution products. Holden was the Greenheck rep, and so he purchased Holden that same year. And so pretty sure it was 99 that everything was signed on the dotted line. He created a company that not only could serve the residential market, but could serve the commercial market as well. And so, yeah, so for 26 years now, we've been part of Mingledorff's.
Nice.
Holden and Associates represents leading manufacturers in the air movement and distribution industries. How do you select your partners, and what value does that bring to your clients?
Greenheck is obviously our longest standing partner. We actually signed the distribution or the rep agreement back in 1972, but we had been repping them for 5 years previous before they even had rep agreements. And so as the commercial market started evolving here, fans is where they got their start. And so George Holden went out and found Greenheck and signed them up. We like to choose partners that want to be involved with us. So we're not really interested in representing a line that says, here's the line, y'all go sell. We don't want to be involved. We want partners that want to come to our territory, learn about our customers, learn about our markets, make calls on both contractors and engineers with us that are involved in the daily sales process. And so, yes, we want companies that are, they're well thought out, so they know what they want, and they are willing to develop a game plan with you to go attack the market. Definitely involved. And then evolving. And so as you see on the Mingledorff side, equipment is always changing. It's the same with the products we sell. Always adapting to energy codes, new refrigerants, you name it. And so you can't stay stagnant as a manufacturer. So we're looking for manufacturers that are willing to evolve with the current times.
Those are all good things to be looking for.
Yeah, this sounds
Very
more
much
like a
so.
true
And so
partnership.
our two largest lines are Greenheck, who is the leader on the air movement side, so fans and dampers and louvers, outside air units. And then Titus on the air distribution side are probably the two best known names in the air distribution business.
So you talked a little bit about, some of the projects that you guys have done, Arthur Blank's house, Mercedes-Benz, Truist Park. What are some of the other unique projects that you guys have been able to be a part of, and what made them stand out?
Right now it's data centers. Data centers, if you read the news in Georgia, which, by the way, Holden is only in Georgia. So the Mingledorff's footprint is obviously Georgia, Alabama, the Gulf Coast. Holden only serves the Georgia market. You can't go a day without reading there's a new data center coming to the Georgia market, doing a lot of data center work right now. 5 years ago, that wasn't the case. It was a large warehouse market. They were building warehouses everywhere. Warehouses have slowed down a little bit, but the data centers have ramped up. And so we are, quite honestly, we'll do whatever type project happens to be in the market right now. And you mentioned manufacturers. Our manufacturers evolve their products to suit, whatever type building is being built right now. So the data centers are massive projects, just massive. Bread and butter projects are schools. So fun fact, Georgia has more counties than any state in the United States.
Wow.
I did
All
not know
those
that.
counties have schools, have elementary, middle, and high schools. And so schools are our bread and butter. And schools are getting bigger and bigger, and they're using more and more applied type equipment. And so they're getting more expensive. So that's kind of our day-to-day bread and butter. Keeps the lights on. They're not the most interesting projects. The Truist Parks, obviously the stadiums are very interesting. We just finished a couple years ago the redo of Phillips Arena. I'm sorry, it's State Farm Arena now. Trying to think of some of the other, there are grow farms popping up. So whether it's cannabis or starting to see around the metro area indoor grow farms for vegetables. So companies are looking to get produce closer to major metro areas so they can get it to the shelves faster without spoiling. So we're starting to see these vertical farms. Amazon is another interesting one. 5 years ago, I told you they were building these sprawling warehouses. Now they're starting to build 5-story warehouses. So as opposed to having a large horizontal footprint, they're starting to go vertical. So it's a lot of it's the same stuff you've seen. It's just a different type project.
Interesting. I actually did not know. I haven't heard of the vertical grow farms, and I haven't really paid much attention to the vertical Amazon warehouses, but it definitely makes sense, especially as the cost of land and everything goes up and continues to increase. We're probably going to see more and more of that.
Sure. And you think about major metro areas, it's land that's the most valuable commodity. And so if you can build up instead of build out, you can get the same amount of square footage on a smaller footprint of a piece of land.
So that's interesting. And the data centers, does that present any kind of challenge in terms of, cooling and air distribution?
Requires an enormous amount of cooling. I mean, you think
Yeah.
about the heat that your desktop computer puts off, and now you have these servers that they're literally acres upon acres. So yes, the cooling loads are enormous. And because of how important all that is, a lot of them have redundant systems. And so you go sell 2 of the same systems and one is just a backup. So they're incredibly expensive, but you're dealing with the Amazons and Microsofts and Googles, so capital is not a problem. They're willing to
Right.
pay for it. The biggest issue we face now is how fast we can get the product to the site. They are putting these up at just it's a frightening pace. They just move so fast.
Yeah.
We cannot get product to their sites fast enough
Wow.
to satisfy them. So yeah, the biggest issue for us is that if you keep up with the news, the biggest issue in Georgia with it right now is the electrical load. And the electrical load that data centers are pulling from the grid has increased exponentially over the last 3 years. And so Georgia Power's having to address these issues right now. And you're seeing some moratoriums on data centers. So for instance, the city of Atlanta just said there can't be any data centers within X number of feet of the belt line, or I'm sorry, the beltway. And so you are starting to see some pushback on where these get placed and how it drains infrastructure. So I don't know. We'll see how it continues to develop.
Yeah, and kind of on that note, with the HVAC industry continually evolving, what are some recent technological advancements or trends that you've observed?
Sure. So the 2 big ones I can think of, we're not immune to the refrigerant change.
Right, yeah.
It does not play as large a part in what we sell as it does on the carrier side, but it did require a redesign of all the equipment we sell with refrigerant. So that is just now getting rolled out, after years of testing and whatnot. The other one are energy codes. Here in Georgia, energy is cheap compared to other areas of the country. But you get into, say, Southern California, where energy codes are very strict.
Mm-hmm.
Manufacturers are having to develop more energy efficient products. And so we do benefit from that because, they roll it out across the nation. We're not going to have a separate product. So whereas our designers may not be designing to those same strict energy codes, we are a lot more strict than we were, say, 5 years ago, 10 years ago. We may not be as strict as California either, but we are seeing a bigger emphasis put on energy.
Yeah, that kind of leads to my next question. You know, how has that kind of transitioned over the last 15, 20 years since we've seen some of the regulations and building codes change? And how has that affected the design and installation of the products?
Sure. So, I mean, you think about Greenhack, our largest manufacturer, started as a fan manufacturer. Fans are meant to exhaust air from a building. That's how they started. You would pull air and dump it straight into the atmosphere. Well, a lot of times you're pulling conditioned air from a space and just dumping it right out, and you have to make that air up, with a carrier unit or something that conditions air again. Very, very inefficient. And so we've seen different methods of energy recovery. Well, they'll take that air and use it to temper outside air coming in, and reduce the load that has to be applied to the new outside air. And so it reduces the size of the equipment, and it's a less operating cost for the owner, and it's more energy efficient for the owner because you're able to reuse that exhaust air that's being evacuated. Motors are another big one. Motor technology has evolved tremendously in the last 10 years. It used to be a motor was on or off, and it either was off or it ran at full speed. Now you have variable speed motors that can operate anywhere, between 0 and 100%. And so if the load requirements in the space don't dictate it's full on, you can operate it at 50%. You can operate it at 33% and not pull as much air, and thus not use as much electricity.
So what about some of the biggest challenges? Would you say power is one of the biggest challenges for HVAC contractors to overcome, or?
I would say the biggest issue our contractors have right now is labor. They cannot. Georgia is one of the hottest markets in the world. We understand. Very business friendly, so lots of businesses want to move here. Lots of people want to move here for jobs and because of the climate. HVAC contractors can't find people to staff to build these jobs. So labor continues to be a major factor in how fast we can build jobs. I wouldn't say the contractors are that concerned with energy unless they're doing a design build for a client.
Yeah.
Where they help design it. That's more our engineering customers. The engineers who are working for the architects probably have requirements from the building owner or the architect that they have to meet with regards to energy consumption.
Okay.
What about training? We know that training is a significant part of any commercial, well, any HVAC industry, any aspect of the industry, but especially in commercial. So how do you address those challenges, and what kind of training do you guys offer?
We kind of believe in trial by fire. So we get a person in, and you'll start actually on day one estimating. Like I said, we do a myriad of size projects. So you may start with a small retail space. Our inside sales manager will sit with the person, for several weeks while they get their feet wet, while they learn to read a set of blueprints, what to look for, how to use our manufacturer software to generate estimates. And then we'll send our new people to all our manufacturers, or a lot of our manufacturers have training classes. Greenheck has a 5-day class that we'll send them to up in Wisconsin. Titus has a 3-day class out in Dallas that we send them to. We generally like them to be in-house for a year, so when they go to these training classes at our manufacturers, they know what they're looking at, know what they're learning. But it's a time process. So no matter how aggressive they come in, no matter how badly they want to learn, it takes time to see all the products we sell on blueprints. It takes time to learn different engineers and how they draw jobs and what to look for. And so it just takes time. Generally, it's 1 to 2 years before they're really up and running and can bid most jobs on their own.
Good to know.
What excites you the most about the future of the HVAC industry?
Well, so, from job security, we're in Georgia, it's always going to be needed, right?
Yeah.
You're always going to need conditioned air in Georgia. So we're not going anywhere. To me, and I've been doing it for, 26 years now, the people are awesome. I'll be the first to admit air conditioning is not a sexy industry. Nobody grows up saying, I want to get in the air.
Right.
Very few people probably grow up saying, I want to get in the air conditioning industry. But there are so many good people in this industry, whether it's on the sales side, whether it's on the contractor side or the engineer side. The people are just great.
Mm-hmm.
And so have thoroughly enjoyed working with, not only the customers, but our internal people. I just really love the people.
Yeah. We just had the president of CAG on, and we were talking about community and, everyone working together within the industry. And it's just really great to have that as a resource because it helps everybody.
And it's a relatively small industry.
Mm-hmm.
We like to joke that you may leave the company, but you never leave the industry.
Mm-hmm.
And don't ever make anybody mad because you might be answering to them one day.
Yeah.
So everybody seems to come back around at some point.
Mm-hmm.
I think not only just the people, because I've had a great experience just like you with most of the people in this industry. I've always felt like I've been welcomed and, had the opportunity to learn and be mentored, and it's been great. But it's also a really solid, I remember thinking through COVID, I was relatively new to the industry and thinking, well, this could be bad. But then it was like, we kind of, we adjusted and regrouped, but we didn't really miss a beat through COVID.
COVID was certainly the most challenging year that I had. You're trying to figure out how everybody works at home, and you maintain a continuity, you maintain, a sense of, in our case, a sense of Holden.
Mm-hmm.
You're working with manufacturers on how do you get product to the field. You're working with the different government, local and national mandates that, govern how you can
Right.
do business.
In unprecedented times. We had
with-
no real knowledge to go off of before.
Without a
Yeah.
doubt. And we were very fortunate.
Yeah.
We had a governor that declared construction a vital industry. And so he kept job sites open. And so we were able to continue, really do business as close to normal as you can from your basement.
Yeah.
But our contractors were still out working. Our engineers were still designing jobs. You just had to do it with a mask on and 6 feet away from somebody.
Yeah. We were really lucky through that.
Yeah, but definitely don't want to go back
No.
to do that. I think the hardest thing during that period was, by and large, our people, Holden and Mingledorf, they liked being together. You couldn't be together. Zoom calls were fun, for the first month, and then everybody quickly tired of them and wanted to be around people again.
I think that's true for just people in society as a whole. We're really not built to be secluded and away from each other.
You guys aren't. No, I'm just kidding.
Our resident introverted person. I found that to be the most challenging part for me too. And, we kind of had to throw virtual parties and, do what we could just to kind of feel some normalcy.
Yeah, if I'd never see a virtual happy hour again,
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
I will
yeah.
be perfectly fine. While welcome at the time, it was nice to do something like that. But looking back on it,
Mm-hmm.
how strange would it be to do it now?
Right.
And so, that's a testament to the company that, quite frankly, the Mingledorf family has built. And the emphasis we put on hiring the right people that you do. You want to be around your coworkers and your customers.
Right.
So,
Absolutely.
Well, if you're a listener of the show, which I'm sure you are,
I am.
You know that we have a little game for you here at the end. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you guys like a little description, kind of like an abstract description of a movie. I hope you're a movie guy. I know you're not really.
Oh, Deanna.
And then you got to tell me the name of the movie. Okay,
so do we have to chime in, or do we just yell it out?
just yell it out.
Just yell it out. Okay?
A billionaire cosplays at night and beats up a local clown.
Okay, all I can think about is Joker, but I don't think that's right.
Beats up a clown.
You're in the right
Oh, it's
realm.
Batman.
Yeah.
Oh.
You're in the right realm.
I mean, okay. Close enough, right? I feel like
I got a good hint from.
I'm like, I don't really watch movies, so this is
I
going to be really
know.
hard for me.
Sorry.
It's okay.
A dad takes his family on a winter vacation and things go great. I'll give you a hint. This is a horror and thriller.
Sounds like a horrible plot for a movie.
A dad takes his family and it goes great.
Yeah, it's kind of sarcastic.
A winter vacation.
This one's going to be a little too hard, probably. It's The Shining.
Oh, I've never seen that movie before.
I've seen it,
I have a bad story about that movie.
but it was a long time ago, and I don't guess I realized it was a winter.
Do you remember back in DVD times when a movie was really long, it would be on the front and on the back of the DVD?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I rented that movie, and I was a teenager, and I didn't understand what side it was supposed to be on, so I accidentally watched like the last part of it, and I was really confused the whole time. And then when I flipped it over and saw like the introduction, I was like, you know what? I didn't even finish it. I was so mad that I just. This is like a 4-hour-long movie. I was so mad that I had wasted.
That totally
all
explains
the
why I've
time.
never seen
To
it
your
either.
point, I don't know that I watched the whole thing.
Yeah, it's really
I wanted to see him bust through the door, but I think when I found out it was a 4-hour movie.
Yeah. A rat achieves his dream of working in a restaurant.
Ratatouille.
Ratatouille. Yeah, I knew that one. Yeah.
A toy cowboy experiences an existential crisis.
Toy Story.
Toy Story, yeah.
This is more else speed here.
You can tell we both
We
have
both
young
have kids.
kids.
A talking snowman causes property damage and gets away with it.
Frozen.
Frosty the Snowman?
Frozen.
Oh, Frozen? Whoops. I clearly have boys.
A guy gets bitten by a bug and becomes New York's best gymnast.
Spider-Man.
Yeah. All right, here's the last one. A billionaire builds an expensive midlife crisis suit.
Iron Man.
Yeah.
I was going to say I have no idea on that one.
Yeah, I'm
I'm
not a
glad I
movie
have
person
kids
either, so.
because I probably would not have known.
Iron Man,
majority
I don't
is.
even think I've ever seen Iron Man either. But I feel like
think I
that
saw
one
the
might
first one.
just be a little too, advanced for my son.
Yeah,
just
give
yet.
it another 7-8 years because
Yeah.
he's Iron Man's a little risque. He's a playboy, right?
Yeah,
a
he
billionaire
is.
playboy that built a fun
That's funny.
suit. So, yeah, probably not right for a 6-year-old yet.
Good to know. Thanks for the advice.
Well, that's all we have for you today. Don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe.